Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the tip of Vancouver Island in Western Canada. I hope that everybody has had a good start to their week. In this class, everyone, we are looking at an IELTS reading passage about icebergs. Now, this is going to be an academic IELTS reading passage. However, students who are taking general IELTS, section 3 of the general IELTS reading is very, very similar, if not the same, as the passages in the academic IELTS. So lots of learning to be had, and for those of you wanting to get a great band score, definitely hang out and learn the right strategies and practice for the reading section. Welcome Alicia, hi Lamia, Fuang, Pima, Akira, Navdeep. Good to see many students in the class from different parts of the world. Baljit, Amra, nice to see our members. And we have a new member that joined, Anjali, I believe, if I see it right there. Yeah. Thank you for joining and welcome to our chat moderator, Carolina. Students, this class is brought to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS, visit us there. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. We use our websites for these live classes regularly. We will look at them today. This is our academic IELTS website here. Click this big red button that's just above my head there to join our premium IELTS package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access, and you can use this code TARGET9 coming from one of our newest releases for a 20% discount off of the regular price. So you get 20% off, and it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We are an official British Council partner, IDP affiliate, and IELTS test registration center. So you're in good hands with us. For the general IELTS, visit gieltshelp.com. Again, same idea. Click this big red button there to join our premium IELTS package. I'm a certified British Council agent, and I have been teaching IELTS for more than 15 years. So you can ask me any question that you might have regarding the IELTS exam. You can send your questions to my email. It's adrian@aehelp.com. You can also download our apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. The apps will link to the websites, so you have an app on your phone. And you can also follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help, for schedules, vocabulary, and lots of other cool little videos and tips for your next test. Definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit that notification button so that you get informed about our latest video releases and all of our tips and strategies. So really just helping you in as many ways as possible to improve your English, your communication, and to get that stellar score on your IELTS test. We've got lots of classes this week. We've got reading right now. We've got speaking tomorrow. And then we'll have writing and listening on Friday. And we'll have speaking on Saturday. So lots of classes. You can also check out our HD video releases. This is our latest one here. I'll put this into the chat. There we go. You can check that out when you have a minute. All right, everybody. So let's get into reading and some reading strategies. We're kind of at the beginning of our exam book right now. Reading strategies. First strategy, read the title, think critically. Okay, so ask yourself, what do I know about this topic? Why does the author write about it? Okay, when you read the title, ask yourself these questions. Here we go. So this is our IELTS reading passage for the day. Mountains of ice, and sometimes you have these lovely pictures in your IELTS exam that kind of help you to understand the passage even better. And so clearly this passage is about mountains of ice. What are these, students? So what is an iceberg or a mountain of ice? Can anybody tell me with a clear definition? Now, when you're in the exam, when you're practicing at home, of course, you should always give 110% effort. So, you know, some people say, well, it's a big piece of ice in the water. Yeah, okay. I also have that sometimes in my morning juice when I put a big ice cube in it, or my morning glass of water. But this is an iceberg, so it's you know, describe it a little bit more detail, a little bit more specifically. What is an iceberg, right? Viewers, what is an iceberg? What is this chunk of ice that we're looking at? Can anybody tell me? What do you know about that? Chan Kip says it's a natural phenomenon. Navdeep says it's an icy mountain. Sarah says it's a bunch of ice which is crashed together to form a mountain. Okay, Amra says it's a large floating mass of ice that detached from a glacier. Amra, that's pretty good. Okay, that's getting better. And where is it floating? James says it's a big glacier that looks like a mountain. All right. I think there is multiple choice, Harsh, in this reading passage as well. We'll figure that out soon. Let's focus on thinking about the title, especially when you have this. Okay. So, yeah. And then at home, when you're doing this, when you're thinking about the title, then definitely write it down. So, you know, you want to have clarity here, and we want to write it down. So, there we go. What is an iceberg? It is a large piece of ice that has broken away from a glacier and is floating in the ocean with the ocean currents, right? So that's what an iceberg is. Okay, this is an example of what you need to do. So what is an iceberg, or what is this ice mountain? It's a large piece of ice that has broken away from a glacier and it's floating in the ocean with the ocean currents. Students, we need to know this. Melting ice and icebergs, they might have an effect on our lives, right? So next question, why? Why is it good to read some information about icebergs? So, another important question, right? Why? Why would some person somewhere take 2 hours in their life to write you a passage about icebergs? So what's the reason? What's the logic? What's their importance, right? And the reason you think about these before you read the passage is because probably the questions will focus on these ideas. So if you're thinking about this before you read the passage, then that will help you understand the passage. Okay? When you're reading in another language, you want as much strategy as possible. So you don't just start reading. Okay? That's like jumping into deep, dark, unknown water without first checking the temperature, seeing if there's a shark there, right? So give your brain a chance to prepare the information, right? What is an iceberg? It's a chunk of ice that broke off from a glacier. It's floating in the ocean current. Why is it good to read about an iceberg? Okay, so why is it important? Okay, Kiarash says to consider world heating along the entire world. Sarah says to put the light on the melting ice and how it's affecting nature. Yes, okay, sure. So to bring attention to melting ice caps and its effect on nature, aka global warming or climate change. Sure. Yeah, Lamia says climate change. Navdeep says, but sir, in 60 minutes we have to complete it. Exactly, Navdeep. So if you are not preparing your brain for the reading passage, it's going to be slower and you will make more mistakes. Okay. Kira says it might give information about people and animals living on glaciers. I don't think, Akira, that people live on glaciers. Maybe some animals sometimes, like a polar bear or a seal, will rest on a glacier, but I don't think so. Well, if some of you have ever taken a boat ride, especially a cruise ship, like the Alaskan cruise, you might also think that it can be dangerous for boats, right? So that could be another reason. All right, and then secondly, you want to visualize the information that you read. Okay, so that basically, this is another strategy here. That basically means see the information that you read. And see it clearly. Like a sharp HD image. Okay, so when you're thinking about an iceberg, see that iceberg clearly. Okay. B, include yourself in the picture. Make it interesting. Okay. So here, what I mean is when you're looking at a passage like this, and you have to train yourself to do this at home, you're looking at a passage like this, and you've got this iceberg, right? You see it clearly. So just like this iceberg, you see it like a clear picture. And then you see yourself maybe on the iceberg. Hey, there's Adrian right there. Woohoo. I'm smiling. Yes. And here I am, and maybe I'm fishing. Oh, okay. I'm trying to catch a fish from the iceberg. Okay. So I've gone ice fishing in kind of a different way. I'm on this iceberg, I'm fishing, and I'm learning about this iceberg. Okay, so when I read, I want to trick my brain into really paying attention, focusing on the information, remembering the information, and using the information. So I make myself a part of the information. Now, some of you are thinking, wow, Adrian's kind of crazy, he's lost his mind. Some of you are thinking that's kind of interesting. But here's a little known fact. So when people read books more than when they watched television, right? This is exactly what they did. So I'm talking, maybe about our parents, our grandparents, certainly our great-grandparents. So this isn't something new. This isn't something crazy. This isn't something Adrian. This is our history. This is how people read for generations before TV and mobile phone screens and computer screens took over our lives, and visual information is just pumped and forced into our faces. Humans read books, and when they read books, they visualized the information, they pictured the information, they got very good at it because books were the #1 form of entertainment. And people became part of the story. Okay, there are lots of famous books like Swiss Family Robinson and The Great Hunt by Hemingway, where people loved reading these books and loved becoming the characters, loved living the story. It wasn't, Johnny Depp and Jennifer Aniston and actors in the TV doing their thing. It was the reader being a part of the story. And that was a very magical part of reading. And for those of you who read regularly, hopefully you have discovered this magic of reading. So when you become a part of a story that you read, it becomes more interesting. You can remember it, and you can use the information. Okay? If you talk to an older person, they will tell you stories that they read as children with incredible detail and accuracy. Okay? So reading regularly is very important. Visualizing is very important. Okay? And then the next, so everybody clear on that. So get back to your roots in reading a little bit. So when you read, I'm really trying to motivate you to do this. Remember, the magic of your ancestors reading books and being a part of that story. So allow your brain to be a part of that story. Okay? All right. I see some yeses and some thumbs up. Some people will tell you that reading is still more magical than watching a movie. It's just that people don't do it anymore. Okay? All right. So a lot of people, not everybody, some people love to read. So here we go. The next step is we look at the question, the questions. Okay. Jaspreet is asking a good question before I look at these. Jaspreet says, what books can we read? Jaspreet, read a book in English that you really think is enjoyable and fun, that you can read for an hour each day to enjoy yourself, where it's a story. It should be a little bit challenging for your English, but you should understand it and you should enjoy it so that you can visualize it. Okay? That's what's best. Pima says, sir, I visualize that if there are any polar bears, then what we have to do in that moment. Pima, that's great. Baljit says, I like reading the Harry Potter stories. Yeah, sure. Sunantha says, I imagine the Titanic hitting the iceberg. Yeah, absolutely. We did that listening last week, right? Okay. So here we have this true, false, not given type question. And we don't read this one because we don't know what's true, we don't know what's given, or we don't know what's yes, we don't know what's no. So this question we just leave until we're finished the passage. Here we have the paragraph summary question, sinking of the Titanic. So this one we can read before the passage. So everybody read with me from because. Okay. Because there was no international group which monitored icebergs in 1912, it was the sole responsibility of the something to make sure there were no icebergs in the ship's path. The chief reason the iceberg wasn't detected was the something of the sea that night. Because of this, there were no waves crashing against the iceberg, making it difficult to spot. The captain swerved, but the iceberg scraped the side of the ship, ripping the something of the ship. Things should have been fine, nevertheless, but the watertight compartments were poorly designed, and once the water was in a few compartments, it was able to something into all the others. This was a major engineering defect which resulted in the eventual sinking. Okay, good. So we read it. Some missing spaces. We'll figure that out. And then here we have some fill in the blanks. Now fill in the blanks again, they're good to read. Any question which has information that's in the passage. So multiple choice, don't read the choices. It's not necessarily in the passage. True, false, not given, don't read them. They're not necessarily in the passage. These questions are in the passage, so they're good to read. Number 10, to avoid a Titanic-like disaster in the future, something from the International Ice Patrol. The IIP's goal is to track the relevant data of icebergs. The Canadian Space Agency bounces something off the water to measure iceberg movement. This data renders large-scale maritime disasters something. So we know that we're thinking correctly, thinking about the Titanic, thinking about the reason for icebergs. Good. Okay, everybody, let's read the passage together with our website. Our website has a British reader reading this passage, so we're going to do that just for practice, for reading fluency. If you don't understand all the information, that's okay. We're going to go through it in detail with our viewers, okay? So let's hop over to our website here. Again, this is aehelp.com. You join it by clicking this big red button for the premium package, okay, to get all of our materials. Or you can try it for free by clicking this green button that's also just above my head there, okay? So once you do that, you can log into your My Student account. And now, students, we will ask for volunteer readers today. So create an account while we're doing this. And then here you have lots of goodies. So you have computer-based practice exams, and you have a full online interactive course with strategies. You have practice exams and study plans that you can download. You have all these lesson videos, and you have these audio CDs. Now, this is going to be audio CD 1, track 5 about icebergs. So let's listen and read.
Icebergs. The word iceberg derives from the Dutch word ijsberg, meaning ice mountain. Icebergs are sections of glaciers that are broken off during the warm summer months and float freely in open water. Icebergs are typically found in open water, predominantly around Greenland and Antarctica. The characteristics of icebergs, their historical impact, and the methods we employ today to monitor them are important topics. The reason icebergs exist is because of the difference between the density of ice and the density of salt water. The density of ice is approximately 920 kilograms per cubic meter, while the density of salt water is approximately 1025 kilograms per cubic meter. Because ice is less dense than water, it floats. However, because the difference in densities is so small, only about 10% of the iceberg is visible above the ocean's surface. The rest of the iceberg hides below the water. This is the origin of the familiar expression, tip of the iceberg, used to describe a situation where only part of the problem is noticeable. Icebergs range in height from 1 meter all the way up to over 75 meters above sea level. The height measures the visible portion of the iceberg. The tallest icebergs may have a total height of over 650 meters, including their underwater portion. The largest ever recorded was 168 meters above the water, meaning the entire height of this floater was likely greater than 1,500 meters. For reference, that is twice the height of most skyscrapers. Different sized icebergs had different name classifications. The smallest icebergs are called brash ice. The next category up in size is called growlers, and the ones after that are called bergibits. For whatever reason, after those 3 classes, the people in charge of naming the icebergs got a little less creative. The next classes simply ranged from small to very large. Icebergs can be massive objects. Very large icebergs can weigh more than 200,000 tons. The largest iceberg ever recorded was over 30,000 square kilometers in area. Again, for reference, that is the approximate size of the country of Belgium. The most famous iceberg in history is undoubtedly the one which eventually sunk the English ship Titanic off the coast of Newfoundland in 1912. At that point in time, there was no central group which monitored iceberg activity. Ships relied on lookouts to spot the icebergs. For the Titanic, the unfortunate attitude was that any iceberg big enough to do damage to the ship would be seen in time. This attitude was, of course, catastrophically wrong. The main reason it failed was the remarkable calmness of the water that ill-fated night. The easiest way to spot an iceberg from afar is to see waves crashing up against it. But on the night the Titanic sank, there were no such helpful waves. For all intents and purposes, the iceberg was invisible until it was too late. The captain swerved at the last minute, but as the side of the ship scraped across the iceberg, the hull of the ocean liner tore open. Things still may have been fine had it not been for the poorly designed watertight compartments. It turns out that when too many compartments were affected, the water was simply able to spill over to all the other compartments. This was an engineering defect that contributed to the Titanic's sinking. After the disaster of the Titanic, maritime authorities realized that a system needed to be put into place to monitor icebergs so that such a catastrophe would not be repeated. By 1914, the International Ice Patrol, IIP, was formed. Their purpose was to track all of the relevant meteorological and oceanographical data and to chart the movement of all major icebergs. Today, technology is used to track iceberg data. The Canadian Space Agency has multiple radar satellites which send microwaves off the ocean surface and record the reflection to track the movement of the icebergs. Maritime vessels have access to this information in real time, which allows them to know exactly where any local icebergs are at any moment, meaning that a repeat of the Titanic disaster is virtually impossible.
All right, students. So that is the reading with one of our native British speakers that you can hear on the website. So that's a perfectly fine speed to read during your real IELTS exam, okay? And the real IELTS, as long as you can read the passage within 8 to 10 minutes, you're absolutely okay. All right, now, students, we're going to do something a little bit fun here. So that was our first reading. And when you're doing IELTS practice at home, it is definitely a good idea to read a passage more than once and practice your strategies with pen and paper. So I'm going to ask for some volunteer readers, and we're going to do something kind of fun here. You're going to see this. So again, using our website, there's this student partner speaking button. So again, this is aehelp.com, okay? Once again, so aehelp.com, all right? And you need to click this student partner speaking that's just above my head there. By the way, students, if you see this button underneath, then that means you can register for the new online IELTS that you can take from home that IDP has developed, and you can do it through our website. We just got news from IDP that we've had a few people register through the website, so that's great, okay? All right, so let's do a little bit of group reading with some of our students, and you do that again by clicking this student partner speaking. And then when you're in the student partner speaking, you have to accept this. Many of our students know what's going on here. And then you see these little blue envelopes beside the names. Jandel, Sarah, you see these little blue envelopes. Send me a message. You're going to see me as Master. So you will see one name in there as Master. Click the blue envelope and send me a message. I want to volunteer for reading. And we're going to just read this passage again, paragraph by paragraph. I will ask you to visualize, and then we will answer the questions together, and I will give you strategies on effective ways to solve these yes, no, not given, and fill in the blank type questions, okay? So I can see a couple people volunteering already, which is fantastic. Let's start with Alexander. It's the first one I saw pop up here. So, hi, Alexander. Can you read a paragraph for us? Okay. So let's see if Alexander's available. We can reach out to Alexander to do a little bit of reading. Now, this is the kind of practice that you want to do at home on your own, or even with partners, that we're going to do right now to improve your reading fluency and your comprehension especially. Okay. We'll give Alexander a 3 count here. Alexander, if you can still hear me, if you're there, give me a sign, send a yes back. If not, I will assume that you have left for a cup of coffee or tea, and you're just popping in to say hello. All right. Let's see. Jamshid Beck. Yes, sure. Are you ready? All right. If Jamshid Beck is ready, we'll let Jamshid Beck start off this passage. Good. Now you see lots more volunteers. Jamshid Beck says, yes, of course. All right. Hi, Jamshid Beck.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I am also doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Jamshid Beck, where are you in the world right now?
I'm calling from Uzbekistan.
Nice. Which city?
Andijan, do you know?
No, I'm only really familiar with Tashkent. But I'm learning. So,
Yeah.
okay. Jamshid Beck, are you ready to read?
Yes, of course.
Okay, awesome. Now, here's the trick, okay? So while you're reading this first paragraph, I want you to try to visualize what you're reading. So when you're reading, really pay attention to kind of creating a picture in your head about what's going on and become a part of the story. So include yourself, okay? So
I'll try.
that's what you do. You go step by step, and then you get good at it. So here we go. Whenever you're ready, start reading from Mountains of Ice, and then read this first paragraph.
Okay. Mountains of ice. The word iceberg derives from the Dutch word ijsberg, meaning ice mountain. Icebergs are sections of glaciers that have broken off during the warmer summer months and float freely in open water. Icebergs are typically found in open water, predominantly around Greenland and Antarctica. The characteristics of iceberg, their historical impact, and the methods we employ today to monitor them are important topics.
Fantastic. All right. So when you read this paragraph, or after you've read this first paragraph, what do you see in your head as a story that you're a part of? So what can you see?
I could imagine the locations of iceberg and the meaning of the iceberg.
Okay, so here what you're doing, so based on what you just told me, that's called interpretation. So you're interpreting the information, which is okay. The only difficulty with interpreting information is when we read the whole passage, that interpretation often gets lost. It gets mixed with the other paragraphs, so we lose the order. And the reason for that is our brain is not like a computer. It's not linear. in its structure.
Mhm.
So computers follow the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern, but the human brain doesn't. The human brain is a nonlinear machine. So it thinks of information like 10, 7, 8, 2, 5. At the end of the day, it's actually far superior to the linear computer, but we have to be able to use it in a clever way. And one way to do that is to not just interpret the information that we read, but to truly imagine it. Okay, so here, what you want to, for example, what you want to see, right, is here's like this big glacier, and then it's kind of breaking, and a chunk of glacier breaks off. When is it happening? During the summer. So I see the sun shining, right? The sun is shining, it's beaming. Maybe you're on a cruise ship, and you are traveling to watch these icebergs kind of break off from the glaciers, right? Can you kind of, it looks like a chicken scratch, the scribble but can you kind of picture what I'm saying here?
Yeah, of course.
Right? So instead of simply just interpreting it like, okay, glaciers, they happen during the season, they happen in the south and in the north, instead of that, actually become a part of the story. And when you start to become a part of the story, your brain, just like when you watch a movie, will make a lot more sense of the information. So it will start to become structured. So you can remember that, oh yes, at the beginning of this passage, I was kind of on this cruise ship watching these icebergs falling off from these giant glaciers in Antarctica during the hot summer day. You kind of feel me on what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so really practice that. So go beyond interpretation and truly get into the imagination part of it, okay? When we watch movies, that's what movies do for us. So they kind of just give it to us, right? When we read, we have to do a little bit more work. We have to take an extra step to do that. Try one more paragraph, okay? So try this next paragraph here as well. Read this one, okay? The reason icebergs exist. And then really give it that extra step of putting yourself into the image, okay? So whenever you're ready, just read from here. The reason icebergs exist.
The reason icebergs exist is because of the difference between the density of ice and the density of salt water. The density of ice is approximately 920 kilograms per cubic meter, while the density of salt water is approximately 1025 kilograms per cubic meter. Because ice is less dense than water, it floats. However, because the difference in densities is so small, only about 10% of the iceberg is visible above the ocean's surface. The rest of the iceberg hides below the water. This is the origin of the familiar expression tip of the iceberg, used to describe a situation where only part of the problem is not noticeable.
Okay, good. So now, after having read this paragraph, what do you see?
I was able to see big iceberg,
Okay.
which can consist of approximately so,
See, it's not that easy, right? It takes a bit of practice. It's like, what am I seeing, right? Like, what am I actually seeing? How much of the iceberg is above the water?
10% of the iceberg.
Okay. How much of it is below? 90%, right?
90%, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, just one trick here as I'm kind of drawing it on the screen. So you have this big iceberg and you have 10% above the water. Maybe you're underwater. You're scuba diving. There you are. There's Jamshid Beck swimming underwater. Ooh, look at that. Iceberg, right? And you're seeing a big chunk of ice underwater and just this little piece. So your visualization doesn't have to be super complicated, okay? It can be as simple as just you swimming in the ocean and you suddenly see this incredible iceberg and you're like, whoa, that's big. But wait a second, you go underwater and it's even bigger. And you're like, wow, Okay, and then it's because of all this salt water that's around you.
And I'm freezing.
And you're feeling right now so this is where reading becomes very powerful, is when you're not only visualizing. You said something very interesting, by the way, when you're not only visualizing, but you're also feeling the information. So when you become good at seeing the information, you start to feel the information. So you feel the cold of the water. And when your brain starts to connect, not just visually, but emotionally with senses, like feeling cold, to the information, then you become really good at understanding it and then using it once it comes to the questions and answers. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's what you want to practice, because Jumpsuit Beck, just from your reading, I can tell that you have good reading in English. Like, you definitely read fluently enough, and I think you probably understand more than enough to get a really high band score. So it's all about remembering the information and using the information. And the way to do that is by processing it through pictures and eventually feelings and emotions. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good job. Thank you for volunteering. That was awesome. Thumbs up. That was great.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Okay, that was Jamshid Beck. Give him a thumbs up. Mohammed says, "Oh, is it really normal?" Yeah, it should be, right? So when we're reading, that's what normal should be, is that we see the information. Because if you're not doing this, students, then what's happening is you're reading, and what you're reading goes in through your eyes and shoots out through the back of your head. And it's no surprise, like, we hear so many of our students often say, I read the passage, I know the words, and then I get to the questions and I totally forget what I'm supposed to answer or what I'm supposed to do. And yeah, it's because you're reading the information, but you're not processing the information. So you have to process the information. Okay, let's take another volunteer here. Kurlus is here with us today. And so, Kurlus, are you ready? Let's see if Kurlus is with us. I remember Kurlus. We'll get Kurlus to read a paragraph here for us. So again, remember, students, as you're volunteering and as I'm getting you to read these passages, I would like you to visualize the information. Hi, Kurlus.
Hi, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. This is Kurlus from Sudan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I remembered. I even remembered that you're doing architecture. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Definitely.
You know why? You know why I remember talking to you last week and that you're doing architecture?
I think because I'm only one from Sudan.
Not quite. No, it's because I visualized you. So I actually pictured you building schools and business offices and libraries in Sudan, in Africa. And so I visualized the information, and that's why I remembered. I remembered meeting you and seeing those images. So that's why. So again, it's interesting because it helps me prove this point of visualization. Okay, Kurlus, can you read the next paragraph for us, starting with icebergs range in height from 1 meter all the way up to. So whenever you're ready, just start reading, and again, picture, visualize, imagine.
Okay. Iceberg range in height from 1 meter all the way up to over 75 meters above the sea level. The height measures the visible portion of the iceberg. The tallest iceberg may have total height of over 650 meters, including their underwater portion. The largest ever recorded was 168 meters above the water, meaning the entire height of this floating was likely greater than 1,500 meters. For reference, that is twice the height of most skyscrapers.
Okay, good. So when you read this paragraph, what do you see, Kurlus?
I see the iceberg floating in the water and is more height like Eiffel Tower or something like that.
Okay, where are you?
Ooh, I think I am between Eiffel Tower and like iceberg, and see that and just make a comparison between iceberg and Eiffel Tower or any skyscraper.
Right, you're an architect, so of course that would make sense to visualize the skyscraper. So here's the skyscraper, right? And it's also floating in the ocean, and the iceberg is even bigger than the skyscraper. Okay, I see myself doing base jumping. You ever try skydiving with a parachute?
Yeah.
You've tried it?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. There you go. So easy to visualize. You could base jump off of an iceberg. You could jump and parachute off of the iceberg. That's fantastic. I tried parachuting once as well. It was quite exhilarating. All right. Good. Thank you for volunteering and thank you for that visualization. So now we know what icebergs are, how they float, and how big they are because we visualize them. Good. Kurlus, you have good reading. You do need to work on your fluency, which means your speed of reading. So make sure that you're reading regularly every day. And one important step for good fluency is to read aloud like this, where you can actually hear yourself. So make sure you do about 20 minutes of aloud reading in English every single day. Okay?
Yeah. That, when I am reading my mind, I think I am more fluent than I am reading over loud or loud.
Absolutely. However, we should be as fluent aloud as silent reading. So that's why I'm definitely suggesting you to read aloud every day. Okay? 20 minutes. The rest of it you can do silently, but 20 minutes of aloud reading. Okay? All right. Kurlus, have a lovely rest of your day and keep coming back. All right?
Thank you, sir, and you too.
Okay. Bye for now. That was Kurlus. Give Kurlus a thumbs up. Let's take somebody else. Let's see if Sarah's available here. Yes, sure. Are you ready? Sarah, we want to move along nice and fast so we can get to these questions as well. Pima says, I've never seen icebergs in my life, but I'm visualizing. That's fantastic, Pima. Pima, that's why they give you the picture at the start of some passages like this one. Okay. All right.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. How about you?
I'm fantastic. Has your eye healed?
Yes. I'm totally okay now.
That's fantastic. Very important when you're reading, especially. Reading is tough on the eyes.
Thank you for asking.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, Sarah, let's get into it. So I'm going to get you to read the next paragraph. And again, visualization, okay? So seeing the information. Whenever you're ready, read from different sized icebergs have different name.
Different sized icebergs have different name classifications. The smallest icebergs are called brush ice. The next category up in size is called growlers, and the ones after that are called bergy bits. For whatever reason, after those three classes, the people in charge of naming the icebergs got a little less creative. The next classes simply range from small to very large. Icebergs can be massive objects. Very large icebergs can weigh more than 200 tons. The largest iceberg ever recorded was over 30,000 square kilometers in area. Again, for reference, that is the approximate size of the country of Belgium.
Okay, what do you see?
I see I have read all the numbers wrong.
That's okay. Don't worry about those pieces. So don't worry about numbers or names that you can't pronounce. You have to see what you can see. So when you read this paragraph, where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing?
Actually, I see different types of icebergs, like small ones and then big ones, the large ones. And I see that there is an iceberg that can be in the approximately in the same size of the country Belgium.
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 Yes, bordering France, right? Belgium, France, share a border. Correct?
No.
Belgium doesn't share a border with France?
It does, I'm sorry.
Right? I believe it does. Okay, so you see these different sized icebergs, and one is as big as the country of Belgium. Now it says that the people in charge of naming icebergs. Okay. So here you can imagine that you're the person in charge of naming icebergs. So you see that little iceberg and you say, hey, look at that little tiny one. Let's call it a little bergy bit. It's like it's like it could be floating in my bowl of cereal. And then, ooh, look at that one. That one is the size of the country of Belgium. Let's just call that one very big. And I can even live on that one. So I'm on top of it. There we go. There's my house. I live on an iceberg. Where do you live? I moved from France to an iceberg. Be creative, okay? So visualize, all right? You have to train yourself, Sarah, to do this. Believe me, it will become a lot easier for processing information. And by the way, Sarah and everybody watching, it's not just for IELTS, but it's for all your reading. So in university as well, to do this, you will spend a lot less time studying for your exams when you can do this effectively. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for volunteering. Visualize. Okay. All right, have a great rest of your day. Bye, Sarah.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. So let's see. Let's get another volunteer here. I think Alexander might be back. Let's give Alexander a second chance. Are you ready, Alexander? Are you with us? Are you focused? Yeah, Belgium is in Europe. Belgium is east of France, slightly. Okay. It borders France to the east on the other side of the Rhine. All right. Here we go. Yeah, Belgium is in Europe. Hi, Alexander. France. Alexander, can you mute YouTube?
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
hi.
Adrian.
How are you doing?
Awesome. How about you?
That's great. I'm doing fantastic. Alexander, where are you calling from?
From Moscow.
From Moscow, I remember. Yes, you are in Russia. All right. Alexander, any icebergs around Russia?
I think so, but far away from Moscow, I guess.
Right. But definitely around Russia, yeah. So yeah. Northern Siberia, north Russia, right? And the coldest parts. Yeah.
Far east as well.
It's far from Moscow, I'm sure of that. But definitely coastal northern Russia in the Arctic Sea has icebergs. So so here we go. So it should be easy for you to visualize. You can imagine that you've traveled to the north, to the Siberian coast. Okay. All right. So here we go. Read this paragraph for me, starting with the most famous iceberg in history.
Okay. The most famous iceberg in history is undoubtedly the one which eventually sank the English ship Titanic off the coast of Newfoundland in 1912. At that point in time, there was no certain central group which monitored iceberg activity. Ships relied on lookouts to spot the icebergs. For the Titanics, the unfortunate attitude was that any iceberg big enough to do damage to the ship would be seen in time. This attitude was, of course, catastrophically wrong. The main reason it failed was the remarkable calmness of the water that ill-fated night. The easiest way to spot an iceberg from afar is to see waves crashing up against it. But on the night the Titanic sank, there were no such helpful waves. For all intents and purposes, the iceberg was invisible until it was too late. The captain swerved at that last minute, but as the side of the ship scraped across the iceberg, the hull of the ocean liner tore open. Things still may have been fine had it not been for the poorly designed watertight compartments. It turns out that when too many compartments were affected, the water was simply able to spill over to all the other compartments. This was the engineering defect that contributed to the Titanic's sinking.
All right. Alexander, what do you see? What's happening to you?
It was very unfortunate, tragic situation. And the safety technology were not developed enough, I think, at that time. And many compartments were not prepared for such situation. And it was found very late.
And where are you in this picture?
I hopefully not on the Titanic.
Okay, hopefully not on the Titanic. All right, fair. You know what? Fair enough, right? So maybe you're not on the Titanic. Okay, you don't want to sink with the Titanic, right? So here's the Titanic. All right, you should see the Titanic. And you know what? Yeah, fine. Let's be the optimist. You're not on the Titanic. So where else can you be? Maybe on the iceberg. You're looking at the Titanic coming at you, and you're like, "Oh, these guys are playing chicken with me. This is not good." So there's the Titanic coming at the iceberg, and you're standing on the iceberg, and you're waving at them, being like, "Hey, stop! No, go the other way." But they can't see you because it's really calm, and they can't hear you. There's no waves. Nothing going on. You're like a ghost in the distance, and then you see it smash up against the iceberg. It breaks and it fills with water and it sinks, and that's that. And you're trying to help people get out of the Titanic, right? So yeah, you don't have to be in the Titanic. You can be on another boat trying to help the Titanic. You can be on the iceberg. What's important is that you include yourself. Here's the question, Alexander. Why is it important to include yourself in the picture? Why do you think I keep pushing everybody to be a part of the picture that you're reading about?
To understand it more personally and in details, maybe, in real.
Yeah, so now you used a good word there. You said to understand it personally. Why is that important? So why do you think it's important to make the information personal?
Because it's easy to avoid any misunderstanding or unnecessary fantasies.
Yeah, you're on the right track. So you said it's easy to avoid misunderstandings or unnecessary fantasies. Yes, it has to do with that. So when you make the information personal, especially when it becomes emotional, then your brain remembers it better, and it really fights to remember it accurately because it feels that It is important for itself. So we live in a world of information overload. There's so much information around us. And so our brain has a natural protection, natural system of defending itself from overloading. Okay, your brain is not going to overload like a computer. It's not going to crash like Windows. Okay, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
So if you give too much information to Windows, it starts going, it's just, and then you get the blue screen of death, right? So, but the brain is a much better machine than that. It usually, and in most healthy circumstances, that will not happen because the brain will naturally reduce the processing power for information that it feels is unimportant. And it does that by filtering according to what is personal and what is not personal. If the brain does not feel that information is personal, it will say, okay, low value. I'm not going to process this information as much because it doesn't have as much value for me. It doesn't affect me personally. So when we read, and when we read the IELTS, we want to trick our brain into making information personal because then we will process it better and we will use it better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what you want to do, and it comes with practice. You know, sometimes people say, well, we only have 20 minutes for the reading passage. Exactly. That's exactly why you want to do this, is because if you practice this, then you can make much better use of that time. You don't have to read the passage 5 times to get the information. It's enough to read it just once. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so it is more efficient to do this as well. Okay, Alexander, thank you for helping me out with this. And yes, definitely do not board the Titanic. It's very tragic indeed. So stay on the iceberg. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Alexander. I hope you have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day. Thanks. Bye. All right, we need one more volunteer, Zarina. I don't think I've seen you here, Zarina, in the last couple of days. Are you ready? Zarina, one of our members of late. Let's see if Zarina says, I'd like to read the 5th paragraph. I think it's the last paragraph, maybe the last paragraph here, Zarina, if you're still on board. Let's see. Zarina, I think, is in the Philippines or Indonesia. All right.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Zarina. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. I'm sorry for not being so active lately. I'm just kind of hibernating myself
You're
just
hibernating.
to relax my brain cells.
Okay. Yeah, you're not hibernating myself, just hibernating. You can only hibernate.
Hibernating.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you for the correction.
All right. Zarina, you are in Indonesia?
Philippines.
Philippines. That was my first guess. I should have stuck with that one. In the Philippines. Philippines, of course, it's an island nation, right? Lots of islands.
Yes, lots and lots of islands.
Any icebergs around the Philippines?
I don't think so. We are in tropical countries, so I cannot imagine we will have icebergs.
Yeah, they melt by the time they get there, right?
Oh, yes, I
Yeah.
believe.
Unless it's one of those super big ones. I hear those ones can make it quite far. But yeah, it would be a very, very rare sight to see an iceberg. Yeah. Okay, they melt. Zarina, are you ready to read this last paragraph?
Sure, sir.
All right.
Definitely.
Whenever you're ready from this one here, after the disaster of the Titanic, whenever you're ready, start reading from there.
Where is that? Okay. After the disaster of the Titanic, maritime authorities realized that a system needed to be put into place to monitor icebergs so that such a catastrophe would not be repeated. By 1914, the International Patrol was formed. Their purpose was to track all of the relevant meteorological and oceanographical data and to chart the movement of all major icebergs. Today, technology is used to track iceberg data. The Canadian Space Agency has multiple radar satellites which send microwaves off the ocean surface and record the reflection to track the movement of the icebergs. Maritime vessels have access to this information in real time, which allows them to know exactly where any local icebergs are at any moment, meaning that a repeat of a Titanic disaster is virtually impossible.
All right. What do you see, Zarina?
I see that they have created the resolution to avoid the same catastrophe in the future.
Who
Like
created the solution?
in government, international government.
You did, Zarina. You did.
I
Okay.
did.
All right. Your pet
Okay, okay. I
chihuahua.
am part
Your
of.
pet chihuahua
Okay.
was on the Titanic, and you're sad about it to this day. So you had to come up with a solution so that this wouldn't happen again. So you did. You created the solution. What did you do?
Put up radar in the outer space to survey if there's icebergs, or the formation of icebergs.
Awesome. So you shot a satellite into space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. Perfect. I drew a little picture there. That's the satellite. That's you. We'll give you some hair there. You got some hair. Okay. Yeah, you shot a satellite into space. You don't want anybody else to have to suffer such a tragedy. Good. Make it yourself. Make it personal. Okay. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Zarina, hang out with me a little bit more here. Help me out with this first set of questions. These are yes, no, not given questions. Can you read this for me? Just from the do the
Okay.
following.
Okay. The number one.
Yeah, just
I
read from the top. So do the following statements agree with?
Okay. Icebergs are sections of glaciers that have broken in off in the winter months.
Okay, just give me a second here. I'm going to read the top here for you. Okay, so do the following statements agree with the claims of the writer in
Oh,
reading
I'm sorry,
passage one?
baby. Go.
Okay, yes, if the statement agrees with the claims. No, if the statement contradicts the claims of the writer or not given. And now read number one, Zarina.
Oh, the icebergs are sections of glaciers that have broken off in the winter months.
Okay, now don't stop visualizing. Okay, so the trick is visualize the answers as well. Sometimes what happened in the past, I realized, is I was teaching students to visualize the passage, and they did that, and then they get to the questions and they stop visualizing. Like they only need to visualize the reading passage, but it's very important to continue visualizing. And here we visualize that you have a glacier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're on a boat, and it's a cold winter month. There's no sun. Okay, yeah, there's no sun. So there's, let's do it like this. There's no sun, right? Because it's cold winter months. And there you are. Is this true, or is this a yes or a no or not given?
It's no.
It's a no. Why?
Because I don't think the winter months will broken off the glaciers.
Yeah. Do you remember who? Have you been watching the whole class? So have you? Did you watch from the beginning?
Um,
I think it was
I
Jamshid
missed.
Beck. The first part. I think it was
Yeah.
Jamshid Beck that was reading the very first
No, I
paragraph.
missed the first paragraph.
Yeah, and I believe it was Jamshid Beck that was reading this. And when he was visualizing this, I drew almost the same picture that we see there right now. The only difference was that he had that nice sunshine going on in the picture. So here it was the winter months, and we remember that what Jamshid Beck was reading was that it was actually the summer months, which makes sense, right? The summer, the sun heats up the glacier, becomes softer, and then boom, all of a sudden that big piece breaks off. So very good. Yeah, so the answer is no, absolutely. Okay. All right, so that was the right answer. So no, so we put in a big N-O or just an N, and then we have the correct answer. Can you read the next one?
Okay.
Number 2?
Icebergs exist because of the different densities of ice and salt water.
Okay, so is it important to know why icebergs exist? So this is a strategy for true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, is we have to figure out if it's given or if it's not given. So is it important to know the reason that icebergs exist for this reading passage, Serena?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
right? We're reading about icebergs, so we should know about why they exist, right? If I'm the author, I will write about that. So it's important. So we know that it's given, right? Zarina, is it true that icebergs exist because of the difference between the density of ice and salt water?
Yes.
Absolutely. This was, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Because I believe I reached this part.
Yeah, it was still Jamshid Bek that was reading from Uzbekistan, and he was scuba diving. He was swimming underwater, and there was salt all around him, but the iceberg had no salt. So we saw that, we pictured that. I'm trying to show everybody that by visualizing, like I can literally remember who read what part, what we saw, and how to answer these based on that. So by doing this, by practicing this, you can become really fast and confident with the answers. Okay,
Yes.
Zarina, thank you so much for helping me with the last paragraph in these 2 questions. I'm going to grab somebody else for the next
Yes,
couple of
sir.
questions, but that was really good. Okay, so I can tell that doing a little bit of hibernating and letting your brain cells relax, as you said, has done you some good.
Yes.
So sometimes that's important, taking a break. Okay, Zarina,
Yes.
we'll talk later. Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. All right, Zarina coming back after a little bit of rest there. All right, let's go to Mohammed. Mohammed, are you ready? And just kind of grabbing some volunteers at random here, and let's see if Mohammed is ready to help us answer some of these true, false, not given questions, or yes, no, not given. Make sure you don't confuse them on the paper-based exam. If it's yes, no, not given, make sure you write yes, no, not true, false, okay? Careful about that. That's right, Zalin. 10% of the iceberg can be seen above water. Hi, Mohammed.
Yeah, hello, sir.
How are you? Mohammed, I heard you. Are you there?
Hello,
Hi.
sir. I'm there. Yes, hi, sir. Hi.
Good. You're figuring out the
How are
microphone.
you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Mohammed, where are you calling from?
I'm from India, sir.
From India. Which state?
Telangana.
Telangana. Okay. I don't think we had many callers from there so far. All right. Mohammed, help me out with some of these questions here. So we're looking at number 3. Can you read number 3 for me when you're ready?
Yes, sir. 90% of the iceberg is hidden below the water.
Okay. Is it important to know how much of an iceberg is below and above the water?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a part of their description, their definition. Definitely important. So then it's probably given, right? So we know it's
Yes,
given. So we know that now. We don't say not given. So it's going to be a yes or a no. Is it true that 90% of the iceberg is hidden below the water?
Yes, sir. It is true.
Absolutely. Yeah. Does the passage say that?
Yes. I think on the second passage it is mentioned.
Yeah, I believe it was the second paragraph as well, and it was still Jamshid Bek that was reading this. Now, the passage said it a little bit differently. The passage said 10% of the iceberg is above water, But of course, logic and math tells us that that means 90% is below water. So it's still the same information, just in a different way. Okay, here we go. Number 4, go ahead and read this one for me.
Yes, sir. The name classifications of iceberg derive from the Dutch language.
Is it important to know which language the name classifications of icebergs come from?
I think the Dutch word was mentioned in a paragraph, but I'm not aware of that sentence, sir.
Good. Your brain is doing a fantastic job. So something about the Dutch language. So sometimes it's okay to say maybe or I'm not sure. And so you remember that, well, there was something about the Dutch language, but I can't remember exactly if it was name classifications or what. Okay. Skim reading and scanning for answers is usually not a good strategy because it takes too much time. You run out of time if you keep skim reading or scanning for answers. And sometimes it's impossible to do that, but it is useful for some situations. So here you remember, okay, there was something about the Dutch language. It was in the beginning. So the word Dutch is a word that we can look for easily because it has the capital D. And it's a unique word, so it's easy for our eyes to kind of find this word Dutch. Okay, so we're going to go back to the beginning here. And can you find the word Dutch by looking at these paragraphs?
Yes, sir. It is on the first paragraph, first line.
Yeah, there it is. Boom, right at the beginning. Okay. So read that sentence for me.
The word iceberg derives from the Dutch word iceberg.
Doesn't
yes,
matter.
Sir. It is true.
Whoa. Slow down. Do you see name classifications?
No, meaning ice mountain.
Yeah, but you don't see name classifications, right? Name classifications came later on, and we should remember that because that was Sarah that was reading that, and she was the one calling them bergy bits and big, giant, large icebergs. So that was down here. So different sized icebergs have different name classifications, right? Do you see the word Dutch in here anywhere? No, right? There's no word Dutch, nothing like that.
No.
Right? So the word iceberg comes from Dutch, but the name classifications, it doesn't say that it comes from Dutch. So then the name classifications of icebergs derived from the Dutch language, is it yes, no, or not given?
No, it is not given.
It's not given. Yeah. Now, the other, because it's not so important. So like, talking about the origin of the word iceberg, sure, maybe we can talk about where it came from, but talking about where the specific names of different sizes of icebergs comes from, that's not important. One kind of hint, now this isn't always true, so be careful, but usually when it's too much detail, right? So like this would be a lot of detail for a short passage, then often the answer is not given. Okay, this is a lot of detail. So when you see that it's a lot of detail, like in this number 4, you should be very careful. You should be like, it's probably not given, but I'll check. Okay, so be careful. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do the last one here, Mohammed. Number 5.
Yeah. Some icebergs can be the size of a country.
Okay, is it important to know how big an iceberg can be?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So it's given, right? This is general information. Knowing the size of the iceberg is super important, so it should be given. Okay, is it true that the iceberg can be the size of a country?
I think no, sir, because it was mentioned that 30,000 kilometer large the iceberg was, but it was not mentioned it is the size of the country.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I heard this.
Okay, so be careful again. Now, Sarah visualized this. So Sarah probably will tell you right now, no, Mohammed, it is the size of a country. Okay, and it's right here. It says that is the approximate size of the country of Belgium. So 30,000 square kilometers is about the size of a country. In fact, a pretty big country. So Belgium is, I mean, there are many countries that are smaller than Belgium. So definitely an iceberg can be as big as a country. When you visualize, you see that because we had that picture of Sarah standing on this large iceberg, and she moved from France to the iceberg and built a house on it and everything. So, it's the country of Sarah here. This is where visualization is very powerful. So when you visualize this clearly, it's very, very quick to answer this question and say, yes, it's true. It can be as big as a country. Okay. So careful with your decisions, Mohammed. Make sure that you're not using too much of your own guessing or inferencing, but you're using the facts from the reading. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this last one is yes. And be careful in the IELTS. Sometimes you can have yes for all of them. So it could be yes, 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 yes. There's no pattern. There's no there's no magic to this. You just really have to pay attention. Okay, Mohammed, thank you so much for volunteering. Keep up the good work.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, bye for now, Mohammed. All right, that is the yes, no, not given. Okay, so visualizing helps a lot, and understanding whether the information is important, so whether it's given or not, and then figuring out whether it's true or not is the right strategy. So it's like a if this, then that type of computer logic that we use for this. Okay, let's see if Tara is available for a few more questions. Hi, Tara. Are you ready to help with some questions? Hopefully Tara is still there. All right. Tara says, hi, yes. Okay, Tara, good. Students, for yes, no, not given, you shouldn't be searching for the answers. It's very hard to do that.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Tara.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
There you are.
Well, I'm not really confident in this because I was in for like 15 minutes, so I missed a little bit at the beginnings of the reading. Hope it's still okay.
We'll see, but no worries. I'm here to help guide you, so all is good here. Okay, Tara, let's get into it. How's today in Vietnam?
Wow, it was great. It was hot, like always. Yeah. Hope it's the same to your days.
Right.
Is the weather in Canada also very hot?
It has been. It's been a very hot past month here in Victoria for sure. We've had some high temperatures. The difference here in Victoria is that the sun is very strong. We have very strong UVs, so it can feel really hot even when the temperature is not so much. All right. Well, let's get refocused here, Tara. This is a paragraph completion type question, so we have to fill in some blanks here. The sinking of the Titanic. Go ahead and read from this title here, The Sinking of the Titanic, when you're ready.
Okay, so the sinkings of the Titanic, because there was no international group which monitors the icebergs in 1912, it was the sole responsibility of to make sure there's no iceberg. Okay, maybe of the ship. So I have to write maybe of the crew to make sure there's no icebergs in the ship path.
Okay, good. So you said crew. All right, that's your guess, right? You're not sure, but that's your guess. And that's, at first you said the ship, but then you realize, wait a second, the ship doesn't have eyeballs. It's the crew. It's the crew that has eyeballs, right? Maybe the captain, right? Who knows? But it's definitely a person. Okay, so you're on the right track. Now you're not sure, so in the real IELTS exam, you would probably go, okay, I have to check this out. But at least you know that you're looking for some kind of a crew or person. Okay, which is the right attitude. And because we see that the title of this paragraph completion is The Sinking of the Titanic, we know that the answers for this question set should be found in the paragraph that is discussing the Titanic, which was this second to last paragraph. Okay, so let's do a little bit of, so we would be skim reading here, but of course for the class that's not going to work so well. So just read a little bit. So Tara, right from here, the most famous, just read from there, please.
The most famous iceberg in history is undoubtedly the one which eventually sunk the English ship Titanic off the coast of Newfoundland in 1912. At that point in time, there was no central group which monitors iceberg's activities. Ships relied on looks out. Looks out. So is that the guys that stand on top of the ship, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy that stands on top of the ship, as you said it. Yeah. So here, I'll teach you another interesting word. And of course, I'm teaching this to everybody. So here's the ship. And many ships have this tower, especially back in the day they had this. If you watch those pirate movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, right, then you see that person up there. Do you know what that's called? That part of the ship that's high up there, that little basket?
I don't know. That's why I call it the top of the ship.
Yeah, I figured as much. That has a special name. It's called the crow's nest.
Like the crow nest?
Yeah, like the bird.
So where the
crow's nest.
The bird lives, right? Okay, perfect.
Exactly. So yeah, in the future you can say, oh, is that like the guy that hangs out in the crow's nest and looks around? And I can say, yes, it is. That's the guy that hangs out in the. It's called a look, and not too creative here. It's the lookout, right? So it's just simply the lookout, because what are they doing? They're looking out, right? So, your thinking was right though. You said crew, and so your thinking was right. It is a member of the crew, and their specific name is the lookout. So it's the sole responsibility of the lookouts to make sure there were no icebergs. Okay, keep reading. So the chief reason. And
the chief reason the iceberg wasn't detected was the silence of the sea that night, maybe. The still or the silent. I remember the part, but I don't remember the correct words that was used.
Right, so you'd have to look.
Again. No waves, right?
Yes, so you said silent. What's another way to say silent? We don't really say that the ocean is silent. We say that the ocean is...
Still, right?
Not still, not silent, but you're very close.
Calm.
That's right.
Calm.
It's the ocean is calm. Now, what is the adjective form of calm, or the noun form?
I thought calmness. Oh yes, the calmness of the sea that night.
Yeah, that's right. So calmness of the sea, familiar. Right? So again, if you feel like I think it's still, but it's not the right word, think about synonyms until you figure it out. Or if you're not 100% sure, then go back to the passage and check that paragraph. Okay, keep going with because.
Okay, so because of this, there was no waves crashing against the iceberg, making it difficult to spot. The captain's felt, but the iceberg grabbed the side of the ship, ripping the part of the ship. They were the department. I remember the word somewhere, but because I don't know the meaning.
Yeah, it's a trick. So you have to kind of know the main parts of a boat. It's this part of the boat. So it's this part of the boat. Do you know what that's called?
Let me the body.
Close. It's not. It does have a unique name. It's not the body. So again, here you know what the answer should be, which makes life easier for you, Tara, because all you have to do is go back to the paragraph and actually find it. Okay. So let's do that real quick. Let's just jump back. It's still all in the same one here. So let's read a little bit from here, the main reason it failed. So just from there, if you can read a bit.
Okay, so the main reason it failed was the remarkable calmness of the water that ill-fated night. The easiest way to spot an iceberg from afar to see wave crashing up. Should I skip to the part?
No, just keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. Oh yes. Okay. So so the easiest way to spot an iceberg from afar is to see the wave crashing up against it. But on the night the Titanic sank, there was no such helpful wave. For all intents and purposes, the iceberg was visible until it was too late. Invisible until it was too late. The captain swerved at the last minute, but as the side of the ship scrubbed across the iceberg, the horns of the ocean liner door opened.
Okay.
Things still might have.
Stop there. You read it. What is it?
But the side of the ship. The side? Oh, the side of the ship.
The side of the ship scraped against the iceberg, and what tore open?
The horns of the ocean liner. Oh, the ocean liner. The thing that touched the ocean, so it's called the ocean liner, right?
Don't guess. Calm yourself. Pull the brakes. Pull the brakes, Tara. Hit the brakes a little bit. Slow it down. So remember the situation, okay? So you realize that you don't know the name of this part of the ship, right? So you said the body, but it's not the body. We don't see the word the body anywhere here. So it can't be the body. So in your mind, when you're reading this missing blank, you should start to realize that, this is maybe a new word or vocabulary that I don't know yet. So you have to recognize the new vocabulary. So here you have to be looking for new vocabulary. What is new vocabulary? Side of the ship is not new vocabulary for you here, and that's way too many words for the blank anyway. So what's the new vocabulary for you here?
Well, I think the hunt or the hunt, like HULL, it's the new word for me.
Exactly. That's the new word for you. It's pronounced the hull. HULL.
The hull.
Yeah, just like a hallway in a building, like in a school, the hallway, it's the same concept. It's the hull of the ship. Okay, you can think about it like the hallway of the ship. So it's the hull of the ocean liner. So use your logic. Don't let your brain go too fast, okay? So here, the answer then is the captain swerved, but the iceberg scraped the side of the ship. So it can't be side of the ship because you have it in the sentence here. Ripping the hull of the ship, right?
Of the ship.
Okay.
So ocean liner is the synonym of the word ship, right?
Oh, exactly. Ocean liner is a large ship, like a big cargo ship or a cruise ship would be an ocean liner. Ocean liner is a synonym for large ship. Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Yes,
all right.
That's it.
Tara, let's finish this. We've got one more question in this one, so let's not leave everybody hanging. Just continue from things should have been fine.
Yes, okay. Things should have been fine, nevertheless. So sorry, cannot. Yeah, okay, now it's better. But the watertight compartment was poorly designed, and once the water was in the filled compartments, it was able to leak into all the others.
What does water do? It's going to be a verb, right? So it was able to. It's got to be a verb here. So what does water do?
filled, properly filled in. Oh no,
fill into the other, not fill. Close, it rhymes.
Yeah. Oh.
Not fill, but starts with an S.
Fill? Well.
Fill rhymes with fill, or spill.
Wow,
right? Spill into water spills.
Oh, you spill?
Yeah, water spills from one to the other, right? Spill. So close with the fill, you almost, it's not a fill, but it's a spill. Spill into all the others, okay?
I thought spill like the action, like you holding the cup or something and put the water from one side to another. Is that spill?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, when you spill, you spill. It means water splashing from one into the other, or from a cup onto the floor, or from one room into the other room. So it's spilling. Yeah, absolutely. So it can be used in different situations. All right. Okay, Tara, so you're on the right track. I think one of the big dangers for you, because I think you have good English and I think you have good comprehension, great vocabulary. So one of the big dangers for you is that you're thinking too quickly. So be very careful, slow yourself down a little bit, okay? Think of those synonyms. And for you, if you have to, I think your reading is fast enough that you can do a bit of skim reading as long as you know what you're looking for. So the trick with good skimming or scanning is to know what you're looking for before you start skimming and scanning, okay?
Yes, okay, I get it.
All right.
Should be more careful, thank you.
Yeah, you definitely want to know what you're looking for before you look, okay? But I think you're doing a good job with that. All right, Tara, thank you so much. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day in Vietnam.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hope you have the same.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
All right. Always lovely to have Tara with us. She's just so full of life and bubbly and ambitious. That's great. Students, we were using our website, Academic English Help, for this, and this is the website that we use for our lessons. It's kind of like our textbooks for these live classes. So definitely check it out and join us here. We are an IDP British Council partner, and you can click this big red button there to join our premium IELTS package. That was, Sunantha says, I like her voice. So that was our reading. You can do those last questions on your own in the passage, okay? So I'll show you those questions and you can watch the video again later. You can send me your answers and I will send you the answer key. So we've got 4 more questions here. These fill in the blanks. So you can do these ones on your own, and I will certainly gladly respond to your email. To send your answers, just send me an email to Adrian at aehelp.com. This is my email address here. Okay, you can send me your answers there. I'll send you your answer sheet. Lots of information in this video. So Pima, it's a good idea to watch the video again. Students, if you want more reading, more strategies, more help with the IELTS, visit our website, join our premium IELTS package, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. It's the right way to do it. Get our full IELTS course. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access, really doesn't cost a lot. And then you can follow us even better for these live classes. I will be back tomorrow with speaking, everyone. So make sure to come back at the same time tomorrow and join me for some speaking strategy and practice for speaking part 1. It was great having all of our volunteers. Thank you so much. And I wish all of you an awesome rest of your day or a good rest. Much love to everyone, wherever you are. I'm Adrian, signing out from beautiful Victoria here in Canada. Bye for now.